This is Joe Pastore with Platinum Method Coaching. How you doing today? Today is the third installment of our series on career balance and the pursuit of happiness. Now, the purpose of this series is to help you find balance in any part of your life where it may be missing at the moment. It could be your family, your relationships, it could be work, it could be your career, it could be your health, whatever it might be. Now, we started the series talking about limiting beliefs. And last time we talked about patterns of unhelpful thinking, which you may recall are predicting the future, mind reading, catastrophizing, oversimplifying, imagining worst case scenarios, labeling, and focusing on the negatives. So now that we've examined these patterns, I'd like to discuss mistaken beliefs. But first, let's pay a visit to our old friend and brush up on a little physiology history that you undoubtedly heard before. Like many great scientific advances, Pavlovian conditioning, aka classical conditioning, was discovered completely by accident. During the 1890s, Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov was looking at salivation in dogs in response to being fed, when he noticed that dogs would begin to salivate whenever he entered the room. Now, at first this was somewhat of a nuisance, not to mention messy. So Pavlov started with the idea that some things that a dog doesn't need to learn. For example, dogs don't need to learn to salivate when they see food. This reflex is hardwired into the dog, or in behaviorist terms, it's an unconditioned response, i.e., stimulus-response connection that requires no learning. In behaviorist terms, we describe it as food, which is the unconditioned stimulus, leads to salivation, which is the unconditioned response. Now, Pavlov showed the existence of the unconditioned response by presenting a dog with a bowl of food and measuring its salivary secretions. However, when Pavlov discovered that the object which the dogs learned to associate with food, such as his lab assistant, would trigger the same response, he realized that he had made an important scientific discovery. So accordingly, he devoted the rest of his career to studying this type of learning. Now, Pavlov knew that somehow dogs in his lab were learning to associate food with his lab assistant. And this must have been learned because at one point the dogs didn't do it. And then there came to a point when it started. So somehow their behavior had changed. A change in behavior of this type is the result of learning. Now, in this experiment, Pavlov used a bell as his neutral stimulus. And whenever he gave food to the dog, he rang the bell. After a number of repeats in this procedure, he tried the bell on its own, and as you might expect, the bell on its own now caused an increase in salivation. So the dog had learned an association between the bell and the food, and a new behavior had been learned. Because this response was learned or conditioned, it's called a conditioned response. The neutral stimulus had become a conditioned stimulus. So right about now, you're probably asking yourself, what on earth does this have to do with beliefs? Well, let's talk about mistaken beliefs, because this has everything to do with it. It's a great example. We all have mistaken beliefs, and like Pavlov's dogs, sometimes they're based on things that happened in the past, so we generalize that it might happen again in the future. And sometimes they're just outright wrong. Mistaken beliefs are where negative self-talk stems from. They're deep-rooted beliefs or assumptions that we may hold about ourselves, other people, or life in general. While sometimes they're based on events that actually occurred, most often such beliefs are incorrect, unhelpful, and potentially damaging. We usually learn these beliefs from our parents, friends, teachers, society, place that we grew up, and most people tend to take these beliefs for granted and don't even realize that they're beliefs at all. We just assume these things are true. Now, I'm originally from the East Coast. A long time ago, in a galaxy far away, wait a minute, wrong story. Anyway, a long time ago, I received an offer to come out to California to work for a large financial services company, famous for their credit cards. Now, while I appreciated the offer, my belief was, as a New Yorker, I'd never fit into a place like California. It was just too different from who I was. My perception of California was laid-back surfer dudes. So I came out with the belief, but I soon learned that it was a mistaken belief. What a wonderful surprise. Now I've been living out here for over 30 years, and as they say, the rest is history. Thank God I was able to overcome that mistaken belief. Now, so what are some examples of mistaken beliefs? One might be, life is a constant struggle, or I should always act nice no matter how I'm feeling, or I'm nothing unless other people love and approve of me, or I'm important, I'm not important, my feelings and needs are just not important, or something like, I can't cope with scary or difficult situations. Now, mistaken beliefs that you hold about yourself or the way that life is are a root cause of anxiety you may experience. Choosing to let go of such beliefs will help you feel less worried, less stressed, and less unhappy. Now, mistaken beliefs hold us back from the things that we really want in life. For example, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have time, or I don't have the talent, or I'm too fat, I'm too ugly. At a deeper level, I don't deserve to have things I truly want. And believing this means that you won't even try to get you what you want, which is actually the surest way to guarantee that you won't. Now, mistaken beliefs set limits on your self-worth, as they're usually based on the idea that self-worth it depends on something outside of ourselves. For example, material possessions, social status, wealth, love, or approval of another person. Believing that my worth depends on things that I achieve, or that success is everything, places your self-worth outside of you, and it prevents you from realizing that you have many qualities and talents, regardless of your outer achievements. Now, as your self-esteem develops, you learn to develop, respect, and believe in yourself aside from the things you've achieved, without being dependent on anyone else or anything else. Now, we need to be aware of our own mistaken beliefs. We've all developed our own set of mistaken beliefs through hearing direct messages from other people, such as nice girls don't get angry, or through our reactions to being criticized by other people. For example, I'm worthless. Ignored by others, for example, my needs don't matter, or being rejected by others, I'm unlovable. Now, unfortunately, what tends to happen in holding these beliefs is that we act in a way, and as a result treat others in a way, that confirms them. So the beliefs actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's crucial that we understand our own set of mistaken beliefs, how they came about, before we can go about reprogramming ourselves with more functional and supportive beliefs. Here are a few examples of some mistaken beliefs and some counterstatements to replace them with. One is, I'm powerless. I'm a victim of circumstance. Well, we could replace this with, I'm responsible for myself and in control of my life. I can't determine the circumstances, but I can determine my attitude towards them. Another one might be, if I take a risk, I'll fail. And if I fail, people will reject me. A counterstatement would be, it's all right to take risks, and it doesn't matter if I fail. I can learn from every mistake I make. It's okay for me to be successful. Another is, life is a constant struggle. There must be something wrong if life is easy, pleasurable, or fun. A good counterstatement is, life is pleasurable and fun, and it's all right for me to relax and enjoy myself. Life is an adventure which I'm learning to accept, both the ups and downs. And finally, I'm not important. My feelings and needs are not important. A good counterstatement is, I'm a unique and valuable individual. My needs and my feelings are just as important as anyone else's. So now I'd like to give you 5 questions to ask yourself to challenge any mistaken beliefs you may have. What's the evidence that supports this belief? If I look objectively at all my life experiences, where's the evidence that this belief is true? Is this belief always true for me? Does this belief consider the whole picture? Does it take into consideration both the positive and negative ramifications? Does this belief encourage my own peace of mind and well-being? Did I choose this belief, or has it developed from influence of my family or friends when I was growing up? When counter statements, you can begin to start challenging other mistaken beliefs you might have. Remember that whatever value these mistaken beliefs may have had in the past, they no longer have anything to offer you and only serve to create anxiety for you now. So I'd like you to do a little self-reflection exercise now. We're just about done, so before I close, just take a few minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, to reflect and consider any mistaken beliefs you may have, and consider what counter beliefs you could use to changing this belief today. I'll give you an example. I'll never be able to get the right job that I enjoy and pays me what I'm worth. Now once again, if you don't like this statement, feel free to come up with one of your own. But think about it, and think about why that's a mistaken, potentially a mistaken belief in your life. So next time, we're going to talk about core beliefs and core values. So you won't want to miss that one. So once again, this is Joe Pastore with Platinum Method Coaching, saying remember, successful man can lay a firm foundation with the bricks that others have thrown at him. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you next time.